Hello everyone and welcome back to Timberborn! This is episode 14 on the Haunted Hollow series. In the end of the last episode we finished constructing our reservoir. As you can see we have all the impermeable flooring down. So once this drought finishes, that is about 4.5 days left, then we'll be able to start filling it up with water. And then it's going to go all the way through and then start spilling down here. The only thing we need to do now is add in some water pumps. That way we can take advantage of the water that we're going to have in here. And then we don't have to worry about these water pumps down here, which will make it easier for us to not worry about removing all the water from here and then removing the irrigation from this land. But we do need to make sure that we have enough water pumpers to replace them, and then also get some water storage over here. Thankfully we have a good amount of real estate, so I'm not too worried about getting some water tanks up here. Although one thing I am worried about is getting all these tanks constructed, because we're a little bit short on resources at the moment. We have a good amount of wood, but planks and gears are both running a little bit short. Same with metal blocks, so we gotta focus on our production in today's video. And the reason that we are short on those resources is because we've been making a lot of overhangs since we're trying to expand our production area. One thing we can do is switch some of these lumber mills to have bots in here, but we do need to make sure we have enough bots in order to take over all those jobs, since we do have a fair amount of them that are working in this efficient mine right here, so that's 10 bots right off the bat. And then we do have some in the gear workshops and the hauling posts, so the hauling post is one that we can definitely switch bots out of. And then we're also going to take advantage of the storages that we have. If we go with a small pile right here and rotate it so that we have the entrance facing the right direction, we can then set this to wood, prioritized by haulers, and set to obtain. And that should help the efficiency of these bots producing those planks, so we can leave them to that and then see what else we have going on around here. We have a ton of trees that are growing up. They're all marked to be chopped down. We do have a good amount of space over here that we probably could get some irrigation barriers along and then plant some more trees without having to worry about the bad tide wiping them out. We can also shift the river over a little bit, and then we can place some dirt blocks over here. Although we have not actually unlocked dirt quite yet, and it seems that power is also a little bit of a concern. Thankfully we're doing good on wood, and we definitely take advantage of that during the dry seasons. It seems like we're doing good on fermented cassavas and kohlrabi. We're running a little bit short on fermented soybeans, so maybe plant a few of those over here. And I think that we should probably add some charging stations over here. We have some space that we're not taking advantage of, and then we also have some space behind here. We could get some tunnels set up, and then maybe we have some of the chargers back here. Although maybe we just keep it simple for now, and then just put a few of them in front. And we have a lot of builders who are sitting around, so maybe we focus on resource production instead of building stuff. We can pause at least one of them, and then let's do a second one. We are still short on metal blocks, so we can get a smelter placed right here. We'll high prioritize this and think about how we can get some more lumber mills installed. For now we can build another lumber mill and gear workshop. I think I want to shift them over on this side, but we don't really have the resources to build a lot of overhangs at the moment, so we can squeeze a couple in right here for now. Thankfully we are going up in planks, so we can start thinking about getting those water pumps set up over here. So we can squeeze 6 water pumps in right here. I think we'll have another row of them on the back side, so we can place down even more of these platforms, but we can lower the priority of them just a little bit. And then we can do the same for these ones over here. And then we're actually going to be really close to these overhangs. We set these up in probably episode 4 or 5, but we couldn't reach them, so there was no way for us to construct them at the time. But now we're close enough that we could just make an overhang or two, and then we'll be able to connect in. And this could be some more space that we use for water storage. Maybe we get one of the tube stations constructed over here. We have a lot of options, honestly. So in terms of food, it seems that kohlrabi's still doing great. Fermented cassavas are doing well, but fermented soybeans we're lacking on a little bit. And I think that boils down to how many raw soybeans we have. We don't have quite as many as I'd like, even though we have a good amount of them over here. We can set these beavers to prioritize soybeans, and then once we get some dirt blocks, we can start placing them over here and expand how much green space we have access to. Clearly soybeans are what we should focus on, and we are actually out of water, so I'm not loving that. Thankfully it is the end of the drought, so all these thirsty beavers are going to get to replenish their water stores soon. And our gravity batteries are also completely out of power, so once again it's good that the drought is over. So we'll need to think about how we want to get more power produced. We can always do more engines, but those do consume wood even if we have a good amount at the moment. I think gravity batteries are a good secondary option. If we shift these just over one tile, we can have them overhang on this side of the cliff, and then that'll give us a little bit more reserves during another drought. So we have 5 more gravity batteries that they will start working on. In fact, they're starting to work on it now. I think they're moving the logs into place for those buildings because we're still running really short on planks. Maybe we just focus on plank production for a short while. We actually have some unemployed beavers at the moment, so we can construct a bunch of these lumber mills as long as we connect them all in. It only requires wood, so it'll be pretty easy to get those built. We can always toss a few extra beavers in these builders' huts, and since we have so little water, every beaver is thirsty. We do have these water pumpers going. We can also start unpausing some of these ones. It seems like we're producing just a little bit more power than we need, which means we need to expand our power production. And we have some water wheels set up here. We can continue along in this direction. For now, we can place some levees down, and then we can get those large water wheels constructed. Unfortunately, they also take planks. At some point when we get dirt unlocked, we can start placing the dirt blocks down here, removing these and collect that wood back. And then we will need to probably make some sort of little trench in here. That way the water will be able to irrigate back into this area. And then the amount of jobs that we have vacant is starting to go up, which means we should probably start making some more houses for the beavers. Although we do have 16 free beds, maybe we get another breeding pod set up. And I can see that we missed a few of those impermeable floors. So it's going down into here. Not exactly what I wanted, but if we prioritize the beavers working on constructing that, then this whole thing should start to actually fill up. And we now have 21 vacant jobs. That is quite a bit. I know we have a few extra builders huts around here, and clearly they're starting to pull beavers from these jobs, but all the more reason to get some more of these breeding pods constructed. Thankfully our water stores are above 0 now, so we have about 200. It's going to be helpful having these water pumpers working around the clock. And if we wanted, we could probably even switch a couple of them to bots, just to make sure that we can maximize how much water we're pumping. And it looks like the reservoir is finally starting to fill up. We have this set to 0.65, so it will be flowing out of here at some point soon. And then probably also what's contributing to our water shortage is the fact that we have so many of these hydroponic gardens set up now. There are 9 in total over here. And then I think we have a couple more that are squeezed under here as well. We currently have 11,000 science. It's 10,000 to unlock the bot jobs for the bot assembler. But I think that it's worth switching both of these over to bots, although we need to make sure we high prioritize these jobs. And then maybe we move some of the bots out of some other jobs like these lumber mills. Now normally I wouldn't want to just switch bots into these bot assembler jobs. I'd also want to get some bots into the bot part factories, but we do have a good amount of surplus at the moment, so we'll be able to start working our way through those extra stores. And then in the meantime we can continue to increase our science, and then hopefully soon we can switch all 3 of these bot part factories to be bots as well. So we have storage over here, but I think we'll want to keep expanding it basically so we can cover this hole that we have. And we can take advantage of these large metal platforms. So if we start making some platforms that go up, we can place these on top. And they were able to construct these water wheels fairly quickly. So we're still producing excess power. It's not a whole lot, but it's something. We've been able to charge up some of these gravity batteries almost halfway. And they still have yet to construct any of these. But we also have been shifting the jobs away from builders and more towards production, so we'll be able to focus on that once we get some more of these raw materials produced. It seems that we've chopped all the trees down over here. Our wood stores are starting to go down a bit. We're at 1.2 thousand. We do have a lot of trees over here though, but they've been going through those as well. Some of them are starting to grow up. We have some of them that are around 90%. In fact, we've only probably had a few of them grow up so far, since we established this tree farm a little bit later in the progression of this colony. But this will be pretty important moving forward, especially when we start running a little bit low on wood. And if you haven't had a chance already, be sure to check out some of the live streams that I do on Saturday mornings. I see more of you guys are starting to show up, and I hope that you're enjoying it. It's a lot of fun being able to interact with everyone, and it's something I look forward to every weekend when it shows up. Now that we do have a few more planks, maybe it's worth getting another couple of these water wheels set up. We already have most of the infrastructure laid down. We just need to actually place them down over here. And then within just a few days of us getting above 0 water, we're now up to 3,500 water. We can store 7,500, so I think that we'll be able to get pretty close to that by the end of this wet season. Since we have so many water pumpers now, we will want to start phasing some of them out, especially once we get closer to that 7,000 mark. Looks like we have maxed out our algae in some of these hydroponic gardens. I did add some algae storage, but that clearly was not enough. Maybe we switch this from algae rations to raw algae, because we don't want to have that hold up these hydroponic gardens from processing the algae, because it takes a whopping 288 hours for them to get 60 water into the algae. I'm going to switch this algae storage into algae ration storage, since it seems like we're probably not going to have a whole lot of algae rations done, because the beavers will probably consume it pretty quickly. I just switched a few of the bots into the builders' huts, and it's already paying off. They're working overnight to get these water wheels constructed, and with the addition of these contamination barriers, we actually have a lot more green space. Before, we couldn't place any trees down here because they would get contaminated and die. I think that we can actually reach it though with this forester, so it's worth getting a few more oak trees planted. And then we have more space up here as well. I don't think that these guys can reach very far over here, so we need another forester if we wanted to plant some more trees over here. But what I'm thinking is if we get a forester over here, we can actually start planting something else. We can go with coffee bushes, and then I think that we have a good amount of berries. Maybe we make a few more just to have some extra reserves, but coffee is what I'm leaning towards. And then I'm not entirely sure how the contamination is getting here. My guess is that it's going down through the dirt and then across here. So maybe if we place a few of these irrigation barriers, that should actually prevent this from getting contaminated. And then we can also try and expand how much irrigation we have. And it is the beginning of day 9 and we're already above 5,000 water. I've added a few more of the water pumps, but we still have 21 vacant jobs. So I think it's worth getting rid of a few of these guys. And then this will also give us space to expand some of these water storages, or upgrade them I should say, to the larger water tanks. But since we have plenty of water storage at the moment, we don't need to worry about that yet. It's just something that we'll keep in mind for the future. So we're now almost at 7,000 HP in terms of the power output. We have the gravity batteries, and most of them are pretty darn close to being maxed out. The beavers are also starting to work on these additional gravity batteries. And adding these 5 will increase our gravity battery stores by about 40%. So hopefully that should last us through the end of any future droughts that we have. But then again, we also do have a lot more buildings now, so this will probably be one piece of the puzzle, but not the final solution. Now we've been focusing so much on production and getting everything run efficiently that I've actually neglected the beavers' well-being a bit. Wet fur, only about half the beavers have exposure to that. Mangrove fruits we're not doing too great on, which this one might be a little bit more involved to solve. And then we're doing alright on aesthetics. We could do better for the roof, and then we should probably unlock the bell and clock. And then obviously fun is lacking a little bit as well. We can get a few pools constructed up here. Obviously it's going to be temporary because during a drought or a bad tide, this whole area is going to be pumped dry, but at least we'll be able to take advantage of it during the wet seasons. And then I don't want to take up all the space we have up here because I do want to leave some room for some more water pumpers. Right now we have 13, so that is a good amount, although we've been operating with over 20, and even then it's taken us a good amount of time in order to get up to 6,000 water. And then we are going to continue to increase the population, and then we have all these hydroponic gardens, so there's a lot to consider. With us having some extra space over here, and we haven't planted any trees yet, I actually think that I want to get the dirt excavator set up over here. It's going to be eating into some of our green space a little bit, but then we'll also start producing dirt blocks and we can expand our green space over here. And the problem with setting it up here is that we have some of these overhangs and the dirt excavator will go straight through, and we don't want to have any bad water falling down into here. This is 2,000 science. We were going to try and save up so we can get some of the bots into the bot part factories. So maybe we hold off for just a little bit longer. But we're not going up in science as quickly as I would have liked. This produces 10 science every 1 hour. And then let's go into our power network. Now as I'm looking through here, I'm only seeing 1 number cruncher, and really we need more than that if we want to start racking up science. So we can get a number cruncher constructed right over here. We'll have another lumber mill set up. This one will be more permanent. And we haven't even taken advantage of the control tower yet. This actually uses science, but if we get this unlocked, then we'll be able to start producing bots more efficiently. But maybe we hold off until we get bots into the bot part factories, at which point we'll definitely want to start taking advantage of these control towers. But there's also a downside, which means that they'll be consuming resources a lot faster, so we'll need to make sure we have a good amount of planks, gears, and metal blocks stored up. But on the bright side, we do have a lot of trees over here. We're still hovering around 1.2 thousand wood, so we're not really going down. And they have finished constructing all these gravity batteries. They're all completely maxed out. And we actually have an unemployed bot. Thankfully, we have a bunch of these buildings we can start unpausing and switching to bots. So we are almost maxed out on water. We have about 1,200 left, which means we can continue reducing the amount of water pumps we have over here. And then this whole time I had this food factory paused. This one's set to algae rations, but we have not been going through any of our algae. And then we also have a good amount of canola oil stored up. We have a second oil press over here that's been paused, but we'll keep an eye on that canola oil and see if we need to unpause that at some point. And we are drastically increasing our plank stores. We have almost 700, but we're still running short on gears. So maybe we do something similar to what we've done over here, but we can add in a couple more gear workshops. And it looks like the beaver's well-being got up to 30, which I mentioned, but I just completely forgot about. I want to unlock this Flames of Unity, but it does require a good amount of science. Now we have an additional gear workshop, and then we have almost finished the second one. And hopefully we can get into a spot where we have a good amount of surplus of gears. We can only store up to 400, so I'm going to get some more storage for gears. Let's go with the large warehouse over here, and then we'll make sure this one is set to gears, but I don't think that we'll be filling it up anytime soon. But then again, I could get pleasantly surprised with these. We have our second number cruncher that's up and running now. We're at 4.1 thousand science, and then I think that really soon we'll be able to get up to that 5,000 mark, and then we can start switching these jobs to bots. And it is cycle 16, day 14. We somehow have still not found out what the next event is going to be, but we'll have to wait until the next episode to find out. We made great strides today. We drastically increased our planks. I think we're in a good spot now with gears. We are producing more than we're using. In the next episode, I'm hoping we can continue to expand our production area over here. Maybe we can do a little bit of reorganization. And then we also put our reservoir to good use. We have a lot of water pumpers here. In fact, we are just about maxed out, which means that we can remove these last few. So if you enjoyed today's episode, please hit that like button. It really does mean a lot to me. And with that, we will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.